Welcome back, everybody. Today we are going to continue on the fueling system, and we're actually going with the front of the vehicle. So in the last video, if you missed it, it's more so a tutorial for anybody who's looking to do a double pump upgrade, specifically with the Frenchie's Performance kit, as well as I do a little walkthrough and I talk about removal of the 32 GTR fuel tank, as well as the stock fuel pump. So it's a great reference for anyone that wants to check that out. Let's just jump into this. So this is going to be a product from my friend Stefan in New Zealand at Innovative Engines Engineering. So this is going to be for anyone who's looking to do like a fuel rail upgrade, anything like that, and they want to run AN lines off of their stock hard lines. So this is for the 32 GTR. In this kit, you get these bulkhead fittings here. You get line that's going to connect to your bulkhead fittings from the hard lines down below, as well as some clamps. But this is the part that I want to talk about. And this fits up right there on the firewall where your fuel filter would be. So you will have to have some other kind of filter in line, because this is going to take place of your stock filter. So you have to have a filter somewhere else. Anyway, these guys, you can just unscrew them here, but you can see that they have the stock size fuel line that would just pop right on there and you can throw a clamp on it. Well, with the Frenchie's Performance kit that we have over there, I want to run the -6 line. So I have a piece here, and you can tell, let me see if I can just set this on its end. The 6AN is just a little bit bigger than the stock size line, and it's big enough to the point where if I take this, I can kind of just loosely just push this on like with ease. And well, you get what I'm saying. Anyway, I'm trying to get rid of that. So instead of actually using these lines and fittings here, I went ahead and went to the Phoenix Performance site, and I got these bulkhead fittings, which have a -6 fitting on both ends. But the problem that I ran into was, let me see if I can take this off with one hand. And it was a very minimal problem. It wasn't anything that, made the kit obsolete or anything like that. I mean, of course, this line, these clamps, and this are obsolete for my project. But if you ever wanted to do something like this to your car, which this is available for a 33 and 34 as well. And what this would be is the vertical position. He also has and offers a horizontal position that mounts up to those same bolt holes, and everything's there on the site. I'll link everything down below. But anyway, so I found these fittings on the Phoenix Industries site. And so you can see here on the top, it's actually beveled out a little bit. And I ended up taking a tree bit and just making it a little bit larger, because on the bottom of the fitting here that is provided, that Stefan provides in his kit, there's a little lip there at the very top of the thread, just underneath the big hexagonal portion of the bulkhead fitting itself. And the one here is just a little bit larger. So you have to take this out a little bit. If you're trying to replicate what I'm doing, if you're running those dash lines from the back to the front and you want that full AN fitting from front to back, you don't want to have clamps, anything like that, which I am using push lock stuff here. Anyway, I can take this bracket that was provided by Stefan, and I can now utilize my own -6 lines, which is super cool. So we're here at the car, and this is what would be the driver's side of the R32. Brake master cylinder, all that good stuff. You can see my GK Tech lines, which I'll probably end up making another line for this one, since this is a little long. I know it's a universal kit, and it's not exactly perfect, but it gets the job done, right? So this is where the stock fuel filter actually mounts up here on these two holes. And so with this bracket kit that's offered from IEE, you will have to relocate your filter, either downline between the hard lines and what is going to be this new mount, to transition into your AN fittings, or somewhere after, you know, that's going to be something that you're going to have to figure out. For me, I end up actually relocating my filter underneath the driver's seat, not physically underneath the driver's seat, but there down by the fuel lines there, and having a serviceable filter. Anyway, let me get this all mounted up. So we snug down those bolts, and we'll get our bulkhead fittings, my new ones that I'm using here. Go ahead and get these on and nice and tightened up. And what I like especially about this too, I mean, there's a lot of thought that went into this, which even though it's a small piece, it just tops everything off, especially for the fuel system, because I didn't know exactly what I was gonna do here. Anyway, this little slat of metal here also holds your fitting in place, so you can tighten the lower portion as well. Just go ahead and tighten up the fittings down here. You can use an any size wrench, or in this case, the fitting on the other side of this bulkhead is actually a -8, which works perfect. So we'll just get these snug down. There we go. And so let's just talk about the ethanol sensor mounting really quick. So there are these two holes here that actually have plugs in them. And what they may be used for, I don't know if it's manufacturing or anything like that, but I went ahead and when I got my ethanol sensor here, it came with this cool metal bracket, and I wanted to mount it in such a way that on my return side, I could route it in through the flex fuel sensor, and then it'll just return back out. And the only way that I could really figure was about here. And it was hitting the bracket before. So I went ahead and actually ovaled out the back here so I could have a little bit of play. So let me go ahead and mount this up. Oh, also, I wasn't sure about spacing between the ethanol sensor and the actual module that sits down here. So I went ahead and I actually got this low pro fitting from Radium, and it's for the 3/8 line. Comes on, it's got double O-rings in there, and then it's got this nice lockable seal here with the little button head screw, so it's not the actual push tabs. This one locks into place with a screw, which I really liked, and how small it was being low profile. So I'll have another 90-degree from the return here. So it'll come back underneath the manifold or out to the side and underneath, and to my regulator, which is gonna sit on the end of the fuel rail here. Anyway, so I have what are gonna be both of my fittings that I'm gonna use just to connect the two units. And this is gonna be a -6 180, which I'll probably end up tucking this behind. And then I'll have the -6 come from here, and I'll connect that with a piece of hose. So that little piece of hose that I was using as an example earlier was something that I pre-cut, just a kind of generalized size. I don't know if it's gonna be long enough or not, but we have our push lock fittings. And with push lock fittings, you don't really need to use clamps. It's kind of like a Chinese finger trap where you put it on and then you try and pull it off and it doesn't want to back off. When you pull it, it'll interior of the actual line kind of clamps down as you try and pull on it. Let me put a little bit of lubricant on there. Nothing that's really gonna, not a lot, because the whole function of this is to work, you know, friction and the way the line kind of not collapses but pulls in on itself. So there's that. Wipe that off. So let's get this on here, and you're gonna want to push it all the way to the back edge if I can get it. I've never done one of these, but this is tight. Let's see. Come on. I did buy clamps too, but now that I'm actually putting this on, I'm realizing that those clamps are not needed. So I think that's pretty much seated right there. And you can see how much that actually presses out. So yes, once you do actually press these lines on, you have to cut them off. You have to destroy the line. So that was another reason why I wanted to make my system modular, was because I am using push lock for pretty much everything. And it is E85 safe, at least this line that I got. And you know, if there is gonna be any leaks, I know that this is gonna be tight. And like I said, I did buy clamps, but now that I'm actually putting this on, I'm probably not gonna need these clamps. This is extremely tight on there. So let's get the other half. So this part is actually gonna mount to the ethanol sensor itself, and then this will come off of that little bracket that we have. Hopefully you can see this all right, but we're gonna go ahead and just loosely fit this up. Just put it on until it bottoms out, which actually, you know what? Probably be easier to do this side afterwards. So let's take this, and I'm gonna tuck that behind. That wire's sheathed and everything. I don't have to worry about it anyway. And what's nice about each of these fittings is they do have that little bit of swivel in there, so you have a little bit of play. So I can go ahead and tighten this down, but I have enough room here. Let's just take the camera off. So you can see I still have enough room on the side here to get my plug in and out. So this just comes down, and that'll feed into my turn, and that'll go straight back to the tank. And like I was showing before, I'll have that 90 come off and probably have the hose route and then come up, because I think the regulator is going to sit somewhere right around here. So I'll have a nice straight shot to the return there. That's really it for today. I just wanted to show off that little bracket piece there for the bulkhead fittings from IEE, and it turned out great. I mean, especially for what I was looking for, I was already planning on relocating the fuel filter itself, so I wasn't too worried. But I like utilizing these stock holes. I really didn't have to add anything, and now I have my ethanol sensor right here in the wiring. I could just feed right back into the stock harness and then run it back to my ECU, and then this kind of keeps my fittings all nice and tight. And I think I'm going to have plenty of room here to actually bring these out and have the middle and the rear feed for my fuel rail. I can't really get into anything else up here. I need to wait for a few more pieces and kind of button up a few things under here before I can actually start slapping this area back together and start doing my injectors and feeds and everything like that. I already did switch these over. I have the Injector Dynamics 1300 cc guys. So, and then I still need to get down here so that I can run my fuel lines and my fuel filter that's going to be back there, which will be serviceable on a rack or just if it's on jack stands. It's going to be super easy. Anyway, thank you everyone so much, and thank you again, Stefan, for just kind of talking with me and answering any questions that I had about the product. And like I said, I think this is going to be something that's great for anyone that has an aftermarket fuel rail, that they can fit this up and they can just utilize those stock lines, and there's not going to really be much worry, and they can run their AN lines and have a nice aftermarket setup up front while retaining their stock system from their back. That's it for today. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.